Am I the asshole for changing all the locks in my house without letting my mom know? When I, 23 male, was 15, my dad died. My mom, 45, didn't wait too long to start over and move her new partner in just 2 months later. They weren't married, so my dad left everything to me and not even a dime to her. My dad's will was so structured that she couldn't challenge it. But she still attempted to ask me to pass over one of my properties to her so that my new dad could feel welcome. I couldn't even if I wanted to, because my dad's will has specified that I must be 21 to have access to anything that he left to me. This dude had kids, 10 male and 11 female, and my mom prioritized them to keep him happy. I mean, she wasn't neglectful or abusive, but she tended to favor them. Like, they went on trips, and even though she didn't tell me not to go, she'd say something along the lines of, "Wouldn't you like to go to your grandparents better?" I mean, I'm not stupid. I know she didn't want me there. When I turned 17, she asked me to leave my own house because I kept fighting with her dude. And I also reminded him of whose house it was when he wanted to play man of the house. My grandparents told me to avoid confrontation, so I went to live with them. My mom would visit me often and tell me how much she loved me, but that she needed me to keep the peace at home. After college, I decided to check my properties and also the one that my mom was living in. I wanted to renovate it to rent it since it's a good one and it can help me afford my master's. Part 2 gets so bad. After college, I decided to check out the property that my mom was living in because I wanted to renovate it and rent it out because it's a good house and I know it'll help me be able to afford my master's. I went there to inform my mom, but no one was there. Later, I found out that they went on vacation. I called her, but she didn't answer, so I proceeded to change the locks. The main reason I did this was to officially take possession. They arrived yesterday and couldn't get in. Of course, they called me, but I wasn't in town. I went today because some renovation work was going to start in a few weeks. I was in the backyard and my mom came in furious. She was yelling at me saying, "How dare I do that to her?" We talked and I let them know that they have 2 weeks to leave. Her husband, who's unemployed, he likes to say self-employed, was furious. My mom and her stepdaughter started crying because the girl is pregnant. I'm sorry, but I had made up my mind already. My mom's whole family is shaming me, but I need to know what an unbiased person would think. My mom called today asking if we can talk. At this point, I don't know if I should cut her off or reason with her. So, am I the asshole in this situation? All I have to say is that unless the mother did something really messed up, I have no idea why the father had such spite towards the mother of his child. I mean, it was the family home. And yeah, I know she moved on to a different guy pretty quick, but clearly the dad didn't care about her before he died because he wrote her out of the will. And he made sure that his son would not be able to help her, even if he wanted to. So yes, I do think the mom made some pretty big mistakes with her son, but to me it just seems like the dad used his will to turn the kid against his mom. Am I the asshole for keeping an iPhone in my daughter's car so that I can track her? My daughter is 16, and as most 16-year-olds, she has an iPhone, and it does not have enough parental control for my taste. But I do still have sensible rules like no turning off iPhone tracking. Always answer my texts or calls immediately or within a reasonable time frame, and no dead battery excuses. But I know teenagers can be sneaky, so I have a backup tracking plan that I keep secret from her. I have an extra older version iPhone on my family plan that I use as an emergency phone. I hide this phone somewhere in the car that I let my daughter drive and keep it on silent. It's always charged so I can track it when my daughter's out. This past weekend, my daughter told me she was going to her friend Brett's house to prepare for an academic competition. When I checked on her iPhone and the secret iPhone, the locations matched up. She was at her friend's house. After dinner, I checked again. Curiously, her iPhone's location was at her friend's house, but my secret iPhone was clearly in downtown, near all the bars and nightlife. I called my daughter and she told me everything was fine, including the car. I drove to the iPhone's location to see if maybe it was wrong, and eventually found my car parked along the street near the LGBT nightlife area. I called Brett's father and told him what was going on. He said he was on his way. While I waited for him to get there, I walked around asking the bouncers at the bars if they'd seen my daughter or her friend. I showed them photos. Finally, I talked to someone who remembered turning away my daughter and Brett for trying to use fake IDs. There was a bouncer that remembered turning away my daughter and Brett for trying to use fake IDs. I was livid. I wandered the area until I eventually found my daughter and Brett hanging out at a coffee house. I waited for Brett's dad to park before going in. After talking to Brett's father, I found out that they told him the same story that they told me, that they were just preparing for an academic competition. We both walked into the cafe together to retrieve our kids. After we returned home, my daughter confessed to trying to sneak into a gay club with Brett. Apparently, he's closeted to his parents and school. She was most upset that I outed Brett to his parents this way. But she has not given me any reason to trust her or her friend Brett given their behavior this weekend. Stricter rules are on the way. She continues to think I'm the biggest villain in her entire world, but really, if I hadn't hidden that phone in her car, I would have never known what they were up to. I mean, sure, I violated her and Brett's privacy, but I feel it's justified. Am I wrong? Am I the asshole for telling my pregnant daughter that my husband and I will have nothing to do with raising her baby in front of the entire family? So I am a 56-year-old mother to a 33-year-old named Kelly and grandmother to 16-year-old Opal. Kelly became pregnant with Opal at 16. My husband Eddie and I have always believed in having the right to choose. However, Kelly insisted that she wanted to keep the baby and not give it up for adoption. We helped a lot as Kelly was only 17 when Opal was born. However, Kelly would rarely help with parenting even when she was available. Even asking her to watch Opal for an hour while we ran errands was an issue. It was rare that Kelly wouldn't complain about why she had to be there to look after Opal. Kelly chose not to attend college after graduation. She had a job with a flexible schedule, yet she rarely made herself available for Opal. Kelly would only come home to sleep or get dressed for some party. She also relied on us to purchase supplies and book appointments for Opal. Eddie and I would have serious talks with Kelly telling her that she needed to step up as a parent. Eddie and I told Kelly that she needed to step up as a parent. Kelly would only make empty promises and never follow through on any of them. Kelly moved out when Opal was 6. Kelly comes around maybe once a fortnight and for the holidays. Opal is doing extremely well. She has good friends, plays tennis, participates in volunteer projects, and plans to be a marine biologist after graduation. The school year ended for Opal last week, so we had a nice dinner to celebrate her good grades. Kelly came along with several other family members. We were all chatting and enjoying dinner together when Kelly stood up to make an announcement. She announced to us that she was pregnant with her boyfriend's child. We already were upset because this was supposed to be Opal's special moment and Kelly announcing her pregnancy was completely inappropriate. Eddie and I said nothing, and Kelly started to say how she and her boyfriend were so busy with life right now. Eddie and I interrupted Kelly and told her that we would have nothing to do with raising this new baby and would not be providing anything for it. No supplies, no childcare, nothing. Kelly flipped out and an argument ensued. Oh my gosh, guys, there's more. Like for part 3. So my pregnant daughter was telling me and my husband about how busy her and her boyfriend are with life and how grateful she was that we would be there to watch the baby. We told her that we would not be helping with anything. She called us heartless and claimed that we were willing to throw away our grandchild. Eddie and I called her selfish for expecting us to raise another child. We are too old to raise a baby. Kelly is 33 and needs to grow up. Give the baby up for adoption or be a parent and raise it yourself. Kelly left in tears. Now the family has broken into sides. The ones agreeing with Kelly say that we adopted Opal and are sending a message that we don't care about our newest grandchild. Others are saying we should have taken her aside privately instead of shooting her down in front of everyone, and our reaction was cruel. Eddie and I feel like we need to be blunt with Kelly and not sugarcoat reality. So at this point, I'm asking from a neutral perspective. Am I the asshole? No, your daughter just sucks. But then again, you did raise her. So maybe you are the asshole for raising such a brat. Am I the asshole for uninviting my transgender sister to my wedding? Some background. I have a trans sister who came out to us around a year ago. But she's been on hormones for longer and hid it from us until she moved out into her own place. I think she hid it because our parents are very conservative and are known to be transphobic. As a result, there was a huge fight and a ton of people in our family, including our parents, cut her off and don't talk to her anymore. I like to think I've been pretty supportive of her so far, using her pronouns and her name and all that, which has been hard considering our family gives me shit for doing so. I even make it a point to visit her every so often, while she hasn't seen most of our family since last year. I also promised her that if and when I got married in the future, she'd be invited despite any tension our family had. Me and my fiance got engaged a while back. My parents, especially my dad, absolutely adore this guy. And since my sister came out, they almost see him as a substitute son. Almost as a result, he's definitely more on their side of the situation, and he's made it clear he doesn't really agree with or like my sister all that much. After the proposal, which was very elaborate and surprisingly orchestrated by my parents, who are wedding planners, started talking with me about planning the big day and even offered to pay for everything. I mentioned wanting to invite my sister, and they shut down the idea immediately. My parents offered to pay for my entire wedding. I mentioned wanting to invite my trans sister, and they shut down the idea immediately, talking about how she disrespected the family and cut them off and all that. They basically gave me an ultimatum: have my wedding planned and paid for by them, or have my sister there and they won't come at all. I took my parents' offer because I can't really afford to pay for an entire wedding, and because my fiance pressured me to accept it. I broke the news to my sister, and she's very understandably upset. I feel really guilty about all of this. So, am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for making my sister-in-law feel bad about her weight? I, 35 female, have 3 children, the oldest being 16 male. For my birthday last week, my son went out and bought me a swinging hammock chair that I've been wanting for 2 years. It took a big chunk of his savings. He was so excited to see me open this gift, and he could not wait to help me set it up. I told him that he shouldn't have because it was so much money, and his response was, "You never get anything nice. I wanted you to have it." And it was true. I usually don't get anything for my birthday but a couple of cards and some Tupperware or soap. So it might sound stupid to some, but I have cherished this swing ever since he got it for me. My sister-in-law, female 45, comes over once a week to see all of us, and she immediately headed straight for my swing. I asked her to please not sit on it, and she said, "Is there a weight limit?" So I told her yes, 250 pounds, and I even showed her the box to confirm. She wasn't upset about this. She just said, "That's a bummer. They need to make something capable of holding us big girls." I simply agreed with her and went about my business. At this point, my husband showed up from work. When I went inside to grab us drinks, her and my husband were talking on the porch, and not even 5 minutes later, I heard a loud crash, and my husband said, "Fuck, are you all right?" I go out, and sure enough, she had sat in my swing, and the crochet netting around the hook snapped on one side, causing her to fall on her ass. She's just sitting there laughing, gets up and says, "I guess I need to learn to listen." So I lost it. As I said above, I literally never get anything nice. Never. Drop a comment for part 2. So after my sister-in-law broke my chair, she got up and started laughing. I literally lost it. This is the one thing that I had that was mine, and it didn't even take someone a whole week before they ruined it for me. So I said, "I literally just fucking told you not to sit in the chair because it wasn't gonna hold your fat ass." I'm sorry, guys. I couldn't read that line without laughing. Then she starts saying something like, "Well, usually the weight limit is a damn lie. They just put that stuff so they don't get sued." So I said, "Well, maybe if you were just 50 pounds over the weight limit and not 150, it would have helped you." For context, she's about 420 pounds because she's one of those girls who eat food on camera for money. And she absolutely loves her weight. But regardless, instead of apologizing or offering to compensate me for destroying my swing, she has resorted to saying that I'm a shitbag for making her feel like her weight is a problem. And my husband is on her side. He says, "Oh my God, it's just a fucking swing." Now, I'm not talking to either of them. Am I the asshole?